Okay, I'm going to be going over the basic operations of the Edge Micro RFID application by Cybra. It's running on this Android phone, which actually has an integrated UHF antenna to read the RFID tags. I'm using a little screencast here so you can see the screen a little bit better off onto the right here. So let's just get into it, just the basics, and I'll have other videos to get into deeper detail. So I can click here, or most of the time I'll just be using my mouse here, just from my PC. The Edge Micro application, you can click on it, brings you to our main page here, where we have 4 buttons. We can read tag list, encode, seek and find. Just quickly going over each of these buttons. Read tag really just gives you information about like the tag ID, and if we know about the chip and the model of the chip and the manufacturer, we'll provide that information. So an example would be, here's like a rug tag. If I press the read button, you'll see the information that comes back, the asset ID, the tag ID, even the manufacturer and all that, and it's considered an asset. So here's a different tag, actually from a shoebox. Choose read on here, you'll get a lot of other information. This is a GS1 GRAI tag, and we break it down for you, the company prefix, the serial number, and so on. So there's all kinds of detail. It has to be an impinj, mine's a 5. Lots of information here. If need be, and it's one at a time, so you can grab that information, write it down. You can even save it to a file, right onto the phone itself, and then email it or bring it down via a USB connection. So that's read tag. If I go to read tag list, it's probably the most common option or function on the Edge Micro, and the way it's set up right now, if I click start, it'll just read anything that's nearby. So I'll just read these tags. I have some other tags over here, some other ones here, and so on. So you can see the count just kind of gets larger. And if I just click stop for a moment, we'll take a look and see what's going on here. Any tag that it can see, no matter what the encoding type, GRAI, if it's an asset, I probably got some SG-TINs in here. Here's some SG-TINs. I found 2 of those, so they have different serial numbers on there. So I can click and hold and view the details of this particular one, and it'll show me the 2 individual tags with their hex broken down and what their UPC number is and all that stuff. So it gives you a lot of good detail here. I can save this, obviously, even as a known product, but I'll get into that more into my next video. So if I go back to the list here, I can save this whole tag read list from here, just like I could before with the read tag. I do save the file. But let's take a look at the settings here for a moment. So there's settings in the read tag where, and you'll see this a lot, the power level for the antenna, it's set really, really low. So it's only reading stuff from like a foot or so away. I mean, I could go down to like 30 decibels and read things that for this particular device, maybe 5, 6 feet away. We have other devices you can read things from 30 feet away. And even the session that it is reading in, RFID Gen 2 specs, there's 4 sessions, so we support all of those. And the other kind of more important stuff is this whole translation. Do you want to read just assets or just GRAIs or just SG-TINs and so on? So you can check and uncheck these things to help filter what the tag or what the device is reading. So I'm going to get more into the unknown tag and known tag stuff in the next video. But typically, you'd probably preload a bunch of products into handheld, and we have a way to import all that, and then check this off. So we're not looking at unknown tags. So we'll only read tags that the handheld knows are your products, and you can search based off of them easily and all that stuff. But again, that's the next video. So that's the basic read tag list. I mentioned how you can save the information. There's different formats that you can set up for saving. So if you go into the configure save file layout option, you can first pick what parameters or what fields you want to save. Like, you know what, I don't care about the TID or the manufacturer or the models. If I uncheck these just go all the way to the bottom, so they won't show up in the file when I save it. Even the file type, the way it's saved, you can change that. The default is text, but you can save it as a CSV file or even as a JSON file, so it can be easily imported into your application. So that's after you go and do a bunch of reading, save it, and you can save as many files individually as you want. You can name the files yourself, or you can automatically have Edge Micro add the timestamp, date and time basically to the file name, and you could still append like information like maybe your location or the user or something like that to the file name too, whatever you need. So you have those options within there. Back to the buttons in code. So the encode button is pretty much what you would expect it to be. There's different types of encoding. There's assets and G10s, which are the most common. It'll remember which format you chose last, so next time you go into the application, it'll come up automatically, so you don't have to worry about switching back and forth. But as an example, if I wanted to encode a tag, like here's a tag here, and maybe it's blank, I want to change the encoding information, I can obviously go in here and I can type whatever I like, right? Or, and I can hit the encode button. And I'm going to switch over to my keyboard here just so you won't see the little keyboard on here anymore. You'll just see it on my screen. It's just a little bit easier. Or I can do, if there's a barcode of the asset ID that you want scanned, you can actually just click the scan barcode, and it'll actually turn on the camera of the phone, and you just put it over the barcode, and it brings it in automatically for you. So it just brought it in. I want to encode that information, so I'm going to click the encode button, and it just encoded successfully in that tag. So that's really simple. Okay, so now that tag has that information in it. You can do that for all types of tags, including the G10s. Next, seek and find. So, we'll go back to this tag. There's a particular tag you want to find. You can type in the asset ID if you know what it is. Or if you happen to have a barcode of it, you can do the same thing, which I will because I'm kind of lazy. So I'll click scan the barcode. But I could have just typed that in as well. So it knows what the asset ID is. And optionally down the road, in the next videos, we'll show how you can just put in the asset description or the size of something, and it'll find the closest one of that size, or jewelry or apparel. Anyway, if I click the find button, the closer I get to this, obviously, and further away, you can see, as you can find the object more easily. So let me just go. So that's the seek and find, and just going back, that covers those items. Now these buttons, you can actually change what they say if you like, if it makes it easier for your user. Like again, I think this read tag list is a pretty common one that'll be used. That maybe you want to change it to cycle count for you folks to see. So you can go into settings, and where it says, these are the 4 buttons, and right now they're display the same thing as what they're named. But if I click on read tag list, I can actually just change what this says. Oh, I put in my keyboard again. Sorry about that. All right. I'll have to say cycle count. Say OK. Now if I go back to the main menu, you'll see that it says cycle count. So you can customize all these buttons. Another item, just kind of before I finish this this first video, is we get into maintain assets and maintain GTINs. Like you probably notice that there's items in here already. So this is stuff that I was kind of playing around with beforehand. Where I added, if I go into this, I could choose edit. And you'll see that that's the asset ID. I even added what we call descriptors to it, which I can start over on any of this, but I could make a change to this, or I can say, you know what, this one happens to be blue, whatever, and I can hit save. But the one thing I just want to show you at the end of this first video is within the main settings, you have the option to clear everything. So that's what this is, clear product data. So if I click on this, you get a warning message. It says it's going to clear everything you've put in here, basically kind of like starting over. Not only just the asset, GTINs, and descriptors, but any serial blocks, which again I'll get into in another video for your encoding. Any of those blocks will also be removed. Okay. All right. So I think that covers it for the first video. Let's just look at the settings one more time. Yep. And all these other items we'll get into in the next video. Thanks.